Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. I think I'm live. It said it was. It still takes so long to get the stream to go live. Don't know what is going on there, but perhaps they're just being more careful, making sure people aren't doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Who knows? But it's good to be with you this morning on Wednesday, my month of May extra performance, if you will. And hopefully everybody's doing well this morning. And today what we're going to do is talk about the energy of the moon now in the sign of Gemini, joining Mercury and Venus. And then also the North Node transiting through there. So we have sort of a pseudo stellium of planets here. And we're also going to take a look at today's two major transits, one of which is Mercury in a trine to the sun, and the other one, or Saturn, excuse me, and the other one is a sextile from the sun to Neptune. So we have two very powerful yet pretty different types of transits today, which can make things be or feel a little confused. Like one time we're going one way and another time we're going another direction. So how we're going to get through that today, we'll talk about. And of course, today we've come to the end of the spiral of consciousness. We're at 13 planting today in our Pleiadian Earth energy. And the big news for the day that we're talking about today anyway is Jupiter's move into Pisces, which occurs tomorrow. But since I'm not on air tomorrow, we're going to talk about that today as well and let you know what to expect, but also some key things that you can be doing during this period of time that will help you key in for 2022, which seems weird to be talking about that, but we're literally almost halfway through the year, right? We're in, almost to mid-May. And it's amazing how fast time flies, isn't it? It seems like only yesterday we were looking forward to the beginning of 2021. And here it is, almost halfway through. So anyway, let me check in this morning, just make sure everything's working over on YouTube. It is. I see you, Augustina. Good morning. And Asa, thank you for being there. I see you out there. And I'm sure others will be checking in with us as soon as they realize I'm actually live. It was funny because the first Wednesday I tried to do this, it didn't work. Last Wednesday I did make it on live though, and here we are this Wednesday. So let's start in, shall we, with the moon today in the sign of Gemini. It actually moved in there this morning at 5:44 a.m. Pacific time, so 8:44 for those of you on the East Coast. We're in the Eastern time zone. And now the energy has shifted from the new moon emphasis that was really on Taurus sensuality and practicality and our building of a solid foundation, choosing a new direction based on what feels solid and what feels like is an opening for us to move toward. And now in Gemini, the energy is much more about conversation, speaking, communicating, mind functions, etc. And it also speeds up somewhat. The moon in the sign of Gemini takes on the energy of motion. So we have movement of all sorts available to us for the next couple of days. Now, today the moon will square Jupiter from the position of Gemini, and that's because Gemini and Pisces, or the end of the transit from Taurus to the end of Aquarius, is in a square. So in other words, we've already experienced this particular transit for the day. And next will be a conjunction to the planet Venus, which is now sitting at about 4 degrees of Gemini. So that one has yet to happen, as the moon is just now sitting at about 1 degree of Gemini. So let's talk about Gemini, shall we? It is a sign of socialness, sociability, conversationalist, moving from one, group of people to another, conversations, quick wit, etc. Mental flexibility, so we have a connection to logic and all things to do with the mind, including, for example, let's see, the overactive nature of the mind, which is more of the shadow effect of Gemini, where we have too many questions. I remember as a kid always asking questions. I always had questions. Why? What? How? And probably drove people around me crazy. It is a sign that when we are in the overactive mental state, it can lead to nervousness because Gemini actually rules the nervous system. So if you're feeling tension or you're feeling on edge, that may be a result of the moon moving into the sign of Gemini. Indecision is also a part of the more negative expression of Gemini energy, seeing the ability to see too many sides, right? We can see all sides of something, even of an issue. So you take any issue, and a Gemini can see all sides of it, arguing one time for the pro maybe, and the next time for the con. I do this all the time, as I can take up any relative viewpoint and argue for it. I was really good at debate. I should have been a debater, maybe. So we also have the motion connection with Gemini energy. Gemini energy loves to keep on the move, whether that is hopping from one project to another, getting in the car and driving, taking short trips, having many different conversations in one day. It's always on the move, and it's often owing to restless energy within the sign that creates the need for us to keep that movement going. It is also the ruling sign for transportation, which is why when Mercury goes into retrograde, we often have travel nightmares or transportation issues, right? Planes, trains, buses, all running at late times perhaps, or overly burdened by numbers of people riding them, or accidents on the road, someone not paying attention to what's going on, and before you know it, they've created an accident. So we have to stay pretty much aware of where we are in time and space when the moon is moving through the sign of Gemini, especially if we are behind the wheel of a vehicle, whether that is your own personal transportation, or if you are operating heavy machinery, let's say, anything that you are driving or moving that has, bigness to it or power to it. We want to watch, make sure that we're staying very aware of where we are and who's around us. Learning is also a part of the moon in Gemini, formal education to be sure. So you're going through an actual formal education in school, or at the from the high school to the college level. Really, Sagittarius, the opposite end of Gemini, rules the chosen college professions. So once you've declared a major, let's say, or you have a focus of the learning, that becomes Sagittarian territory. But the formal education that you have, the degrees that you get, all fall within the sign of Gemini. And as well, print media, the internet, a source of information, curiosity are all traits that we find in the sign of Gemini. And of course, communication, right? Speaking, writing, acting, listening, teaching, all of these things are a part of Gemini energy. And as it relates to relationships, Gemini is a sign that rules the sort of next level relationships. So not your kids, not your spouse, but not those closest in, but say your siblings or your neighbors or your roommates, maybe even your colleagues or college friends, the people that, were close to you, but not necessarily as close as, say, your spouse or your own kids. And in health or in the body, Gemini energy rules the hands, the wrists, the arms, the shoulders, and hay fever. I've been experiencing that as I was driving through yesterday. I swear all of the farm fields around here are hay fields, and they've just finished not cultivating it, but cutting it down. And I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't close my vents and stuff in my car fast enough. Lungs and breathing are also ruled by Gemini, and the nervous system, as I already alluded to. So we have Gemini in pretty prominent places in the body, and it happens to be the places that help us to communicate. Have you ever noticed I talk with my hands? Sometimes I talk with my whole body. The wrists and the shoulders really do, with all the time that we spend on computers holding a mouse or typing on a keyboard, it tends to create issues around carpal tunnel. And so Gemini energy in your chart may show you where you tend to be nervous or where you tend to have anxiety or restlessness, but also where you can speak easiest, where you teach, and also where you need to have that mental flexibility, or where you tend to have mental flexibility. Okay, so that's our moon today. It really isn't that big of a moon. And today it will conjunct Venus later on, the moon conjunct Venus. These two come together in a very nice, romantic, compassionate, loving embrace. They're not usually at odds with one another in the conjunction. So I would expect that there's a feel-good aspect to the day. There are a couple of other aspects that are bigger, more important planets. Even Gemini's ruler is involved in one today that may make things a little bit more confusing. But overall, the moon's conjunction to Venus sort of sets the tone for the day to be sort of an ease and a flow, and to not necessarily have a lot of harsh kind of energies associated with it. More people joining us. Kathleen Mallory, hello to you. Patricia Woods, good to see you. Haven't seen you out here in a while. Amy D, good morning to you. Pauline, hello. J-Lo, good morning to you. Amanda J, hello to you. Corey, hello. And Corey says, your Gemini helps here when you show us the positive, negative sides of everything. Thank you very much. Kathleen Mallory, I woke up about 4:30 a.m. Ursula, good morning to you. Yeah, I did not wake up early this morning. I had my second COVID shot yesterday. And so I kind of set the tone yesterday for how it was that I was going to experience this. And one of the articles I'd read somewhere out of the blue, because of course information always seems to find me, is that if you are well hydrated before and after receiving the shots, then you will your body tends to work with it better, moving it through the system, as it were. And so since I'm a water drinker, I mean, I drink probably 2 to 3 of these jugs a day. I felt like, oh yeah, well, I've been doing that naturally. So I think a lot of times what our health has to do with a lot with our mindset. So if you're going into something feeling like, oh no, that second shot's a killer, it's going to make you sick, then that may be what happens. In fact, my arm doesn't even hurt today like it did after my first one. So, right? Mind over health, or health over mind, however that would work. So being able to use your mind in an intelligent way, in a directed way, is your birthright. It is your free will. And so many times we think we're falling victim to things, or that we're doomed to experience things in a certain way. And in fact, it's not the case, right? You are actually getting to choose how you're going to show up in all of your experiences. So I encourage everybody, know yourself, look at your chart. Where are these different parts of the chart, and where is certain energy happening in your chart by house? And the other thing to think about is what planets might be in Gemini for you already, or any sign for that matter. Today, we just happen to have this Gemini focus, but any sign. So if you're a Taurus, then you're paying attention when planets are moving through Taurus. If you're a Scorpio, you're paying attention when planets are moving through Scorpio, or even its opposite. So this is the reason I do this for everybody, is so that you learn how to look at your own chart, because I can't be there 100% for you every day as, individuals even. So if I can teach you how to look at your own chart and be in an understanding way about what's going on, then you can choose. How are you going to show up, right? How are you going to react or respond, right? I like the word responding, because we each get the opportunity to respond. Now, today we also, as I said, have 2 other transits that are occurring, and they're not negative transits at all, but they're kind of confusing, as in one seems to push us in one direction and the other tends to push us in the other direction. How do we solve that conundrum, if you will, to use a word that I use often for human design? And here's the case. Mercury is in a trine today to Saturn. So now we have linkage, right? We have the moon in Gemini, a sign that is ruled by Mercury. And then we have Mercury in a trine to Saturn. A trine is an ease and flow of the energy between the 2 planets, but it's also linking up the moon's transit through the sign of Gemini, because Mercury is the ruler there, and Mercury is even in the sign of Gemini right now. So we have like little mountains of Gemini energy sort of building that we can look at. And then Saturn, of course, is sitting in the sign of Aquarius, a fellow air sign to Gemini energy. So now we can see that the flow is occurring because the information sharing between the two signs is working really well. They are in familiar elements. Air, right? Air is curious, it's informational, it's sharing, it's idea driven, it's inspiration coming in from your head center of the human design chart into the body for us to follow the little threads of curiosity and to lead us to new solutions, etc. Now, when we look at the trine to Saturn, it means that today we have a better opportunity to focus our energy on the tasks that we have at hand, even the tasks that we don't necessarily want to do. Or that we don't normally like to do, sitting down to pay the bills, clearing off the desk. Look, one of my things is having to clean out the refrigerator and look at, the things that we didn't eat that are gone bad, or the things that I had leftovers that we need to get eating. So I don't like doing that. So it's the last thing I ever do on a task-driven day. So today, likely, I'm going to tackle my refrigerator. So it's just those things that we don't normally like to do. I might even tackle my desk today. Wow. And Mercury and Saturn together give us the opportunity to tap in to those positive concentration on tasks that we need to do, whatever that might be. Today, thankfully, Saturn in the mix with Gemini and Mercury energy helps us to make good decisions, right? Not just those decisions made out of restlessness. And trust me when I say that I fall victim to this very easily, this idea of restless energy or boredom, and out of that, making decisions that may or may not be good ones. So I know better, especially because I'm emotionally defined in my human design. I do not make decisions in the moment. I don't, because if I do, I know they're going to be the wrong ones, right? It's not the right decision. So we take our time on a day like this because we have scattered energy, but we also have this ability to laser in on what might be the right decision for us, especially if we've already had some time that we've been thinking about something. We are better organizing our thoughts today as well, although you wouldn't know it to listen to me talk this morning. I seem to be kind of foggy, going all over the place, but there's just so much I want to say today. So better organizing of our thoughts to be able to speak in a way that makes sense in sort of that stepwise progression, right? To be able to lay the foundation of what it is that you're trying to present, finding practical solutions today to maybe issues that you've been dealing with, but also it might be a day to reach out to elders or mentors or coaches or people that are experts that can help you solve a problem. So this Saturn into this trine with Mercury brings us those kind of people that are in authority, the ones that can help us find that pathway that we need to get on. So looking for people like that to show up today, perhaps, that might be able to guide you with some wisdom. Now, if we look at this Mercury trine Saturn through human design, what we see is Mercury is at the gate 35 today. And I meant to check that this morning because I'm not altogether convinced that he's there all day, but I might be wrong. Let's take a look here. I'm looking at my ephemeris and I'm finding the planet Mercury today. He is there through the 15th. So I am wrong. So, oh, that's right. He's slowing down to prepare for his retrograde station. So he's here 5 days starting on the 11th, which was Tuesday at the new moon. So the gate 35 is an interesting one because it sits on the throat center of your human design chart. And now that Neptune has moved into the gate 36, the opposite gate of 35, we have this whole channel of transformation, or in traditional human design, that is the channel of transitoriness. And that's kind of a difficult concept, I think. But if you think about the 35 as a gate that has experiences, and it has experiences that it wants to share, right? It's on the throat. So it's wanting to move out its experiences. It wants to share what it knows. It wants to share what it's been through. It wants to share stories, right? The stories of its experiences. And it meets up with the gate 36, where Neptune is sitting, Neptune being a planet of our spiritual job, perhaps, right? And when we look at human design in your life purpose, Neptune has the purpose of being your spiritual job, like what you and a bunch of your friends that were born around the same time of you have as a job, like a chunk of the population that came here to do a specific thing in this particular lifetime. So we might be meeting up with our spiritual direction through this connection with Mercury and Saturn here. And 35 is a gate sometimes that we think of as the gate of the Jack or Jill of all trades. And that's because this gate has a lot of experiences. And from those experiences, wants to take that and share it with others. The negative side of this, of course, is it's on the throat center. And the throat center, as we've talked about before, is a center where you must have must if you have an open throat, but it works best if you have a defined throat too, to wait for the invitation to share what you know or to share your experiences. So the invitation acts as almost the clearing of the pathway. Otherwise, there can be all kinds of different obstacles as you attempt to share, especially if you're sharing in the wrong time with the wrong people. So what we have today is a connection that brings both the emotions and the throat together, right? So we have maybe the process of emotionally speaking. So having conversations with people that might be of an emotional nature. So that's Mercury and Saturn working together to complete a channel in your human design. So get your human design chart out and take a look at it and see if that, like in my own chart, 35 and 36 are open. Now I have access to this whole channel, and I'm feeling this. I think I was already feeling this before the new moon even set in, this idea of transitoriness, that there's something that is causing some restlessness in me that I need to change, that I feel like is leading me to a change, probably is the better way to say that. So look at that in your own life. What do you feel like right now needs to be changed? And is there a story of your experience that's connected there, that's either for the positive or maybe the not so positive, but the story is yours and yours to tell. You can tell it in a positive way and share with others the experience of having to move through the more negative aspect, perhaps, and into the positive. Or you can just keep telling yourself the unempowered story of your life, or telling yourself that story. So it's a story time, let's say, for that particular connection. Now, we also have the sun in a sextile to Neptune today. This is about, think of the sun as your outer being, your personality, right? What you do out in the world, or how you project yourself out into the world. Neptune is how you project yourself inward. So we have both our outer self and our inner self very activated today because of the sun and Neptune coming together. And a sextile is a connection, a relationship between the planets that's positive. They almost can speak each other's language. It's like there's a connection there between the two, where they have this mutual understanding of one another, with the sun in Taurus understanding the need to have security and to build a foundation, and that being of the practical earthly kind. And then Neptune being in Pisces, a sign of water and spirit and ether, having to have that very spiritual side. And it's both coming together in a positive way. So we have the potential for dreams and our intuition and instinct that becomes very powerful. They may even hold the keys to our inner wisdom through some coincidence or synchronicity, something that, some aha moment, something in your dreams last night, or even tonight's dreams, that holds some kind of key helping you to find direction or to find the missing piece, something that you've been missing. It also gives us increased sensitivity. both to the emotional atmosphere, but also to the unseen realm, increasing our empathy and our compassion for all life, not just the humankind, but also helping us to have more connection, coherence in our human experience, maybe even being able to step back a bit to see how all the parts are fitting together. Especially as what I see lately in the news are these back and forth stories. Like one story comes out and it's positive, then the next one is some, throwback to 2020's energy and all of the chaos, but in politics and all of the chaos in the world in general. And then you ragdoll again to another positive story. And so we're going back and forth. When this is happening, it's a moment for us to be able to step back and have empathy and compassion, not only for ourselves, but for all humans who are moving through these very changeable times, this period of evolution, very quick evolution that we're experiencing on our planet. This is a good time to start a self-improvement project, start a new book, start a new spiritual practice. We have the energy of the new moon still with us. And this particular transit helps us to get in tune with that inner voice and to focus inward, but also focus outward. So it gives us that opportunity to maybe start a new project of some sort. When I say self-improvement project, it might mean a new class. It might be a course that you're taking. It could be a new form of exercise, just something new that's supportive of your own growth and your own evolution. And then also perhaps a contemplative study, right? Something that's more quiet, something that may be like journaling or a book that opens up your world in some way. So it is good energy there. The sun and the planet Neptune in human design are at gate 23 and 36. So 23 is also on the throat center. It is a gate that likes to simplify things. It is called the gate of assimilation in traditional human design. It is called the gate of transmission in quantum human design. And to me, this is a gate that breaks things down to its simplest components, right? That right now is we're maybe on the hunt for simplicity. And I find that also coincides with Taurus energy, which is also often a sign that loves the more simple life, right? Getting down to the aspects of the nitty gritty of what makes us comfortable. Maybe it's just that one pillow, or it's that chair, or it's that color, it's that smell. And that allows us to simplify our lives, tapping into the simple pleasures, as it were. So the sun is the one that's at the gate 23. The Neptune is the one that's in the more chaotic energy. As Neptune already stirs up a sort of chaos, a sort of inability to see things clearly. And when you have Neptune in a sign it rules, it brings those qualities ever closer to the surface. On the one hand, it's bringing us that imaginative and creative energy, but on the other hand, it brings disillusionment. It brings discord in terms of our trying to stay clear. It is something that can kind of make things foggy or misty, and it's hard for us to see through to the truth. So at the gate 36, now we have chaos in the shadow energy of the gene keys. This is turbulence, chaos in some people's world of human design. And it's the chaos that occurs in our emotions when we can't sort through what we're actually feeling. And instead we give that not knowing exactly what we're feeling maybe gives rise to that boredom or restlessness finding its way out into our lives. And it can be disruptive when we tap into that sort of chaotic, I don't know what's going to make me feel better, so I'm just going to do a whole bunch of things. Sometimes that can be very destructive energy. So here with Neptune, now we'll have to be very careful that we are not taking action unless it's very clear what we want to take and what we need to do. So maybe the sun and Neptune here working together to help us simplify things rather than being in that complexity and then getting more confused about what it is that we're being shown, right? It can be very difficult to see when there's a bunch of fog, right? Try to drive on a mountain highway when you're up into the clouds, right? It becomes a process of having to be able to see clearly. All right, just checking. I don't see any questions here. Let me go back to Zoom real quick and say hello to everybody that's checked in. Oh, my sense. So we have J-Lo, pretty interesting, having a defined throat. Now I have 5 active gates there. And now my solar plexus is defined also with 5 gates active also. Yeah, so this is perfect for you to tap into, J-Lo. And this is the reason why doing this kind of work on as often as I can get out here to help you with this is so important, because now you know that your center of wanting to manifest and create is linked to your emotional center. And now, what do we know about emotions? They flow and they have ups and they have downs. And if we are acting from the low energy, let's say, of our emotional wave, we may, blow up our lives. If we're acting from the high part, we may be taking on too much. So the whole wisdom in this is to wait for clarity, and clarity comes over time. And that may not be something that you're used to, because if you normally have an open emotional center, you're not used to that waiting for that kind of clarity. You're more spontaneous. But right now, spontaneity may actually be something that leads you down the wrong road. So being very aware of what it is that you're doing right now. Big Mama, hello. Big Mama says, old man ham. I'm not sure what that means, but good to see you. Oh my God. Asa, I need you to get in there and take some of these comments out because I see that we're being trolled here today. And Ryan Henke, all lives matter. Of course they do. All lives matter. I don't even know what to say. Asa, please help me get these comments off of here. I don't even know what to say, you guys. If you want to be here, that's great, but let's keep positive comments flowing. And I don't know what you're out to prove. If you're just out to be disruptors, that would be typical with Neptune at 36. But please get off my channel. Go to somebody else's channel that might, want your attentions. I don't want your attentions. So leave, please. Or you're welcome to stay if you're going to be positive. Or if you are just here to learn something about yourself, because it seems like to me that you guys could all have a moment to learn something about yourselves. All right. So let's go on to 13 planting. So in our Pleiadian Earth calendar, as you all, I'm just going to go back a little bit with this, because as Asa gets back to putting in our daily Pleiadian energies, it occurred to me that some of you who are new out here may not know exactly how this is working or what these things are all about. So what we have is a calendar that, rather than being mechanical, right? Our Gregorian calendar is mechanical. It takes one day and builds upon the other, but without any meaning other than today's May 12th, right? There's no real meaning there. The Pleiadian Earth calendar takes us into the meaning of each of these days, or what the potential expression is for the raising of consciousness, which is why we're here on this planet, to raise our consciousness. And so when you look at a Pleiadian day, like for example, today is 13 planting. You have a number that represents the universal energy of the day. So when you look at the calendar, I got to go back to Zoom so I can see that and not get distracted by comments. Here we go. So you see today is the 12th, and the 13 tells you the universal day, and then what the energy of that day is, which happens to be planting energy. And the planting part of that is the earth energy. So the universal energy is telling us that universally, no matter where we were in whatever solar system, that universally we would have the energy of 13, which is the number of ascension. It's the number of completing the spiral of consciousness, the 13-day week of whatever it is that we are learning for this period of time. And then integrating everything that we've learned, sort of going into the void, going within to understand, to integrate, and then to be ready for tomorrow's new energy, which begins a new 13-day spiral at one moving. So starting tomorrow, we have the energy for 13 days of a lot of change and a lot of motion and a lot of movement. So that makes today even more important in being able to integrate everything that's come up during this 13-day period. Now, the energy of planting, the earth energy of the day, is about feeling energetic. And it is a seed sort of day. It is represented by two things in the Mayan calendar. One is the seed. You kind of see like a little kernel of corn, and the seed meaning this is a day to plant, right? To plant seeds or to plant an idea. But we also see in some of the Mayan script, it's represented by the rabbit, and the rabbit feels fertile, right? It feels like there is the ability to be able to bring something into a harvest situation at some point. So we're planting the seeds, and luck is with us in that. Luck is with us in that because we've just come through the new moon. So we have the new moon with us as well. And that new moon energy is about planting the seeds for what we intend, what our manifesting is all about. So we're feeling that lucky, energetic right now today, but we're taking that within us to gain insight for the next direction. So today is good for the new, but we have to watch out for a couple of things. One is being irresponsible. And being irresponsible isn't just about not being a grown-up and, doing what's correct. It's about doing things that are harmful. It's about watching out for taking action in a reactive way rather than responding. And it's also immature energy. So whatever the seeds that we plant today, for example, are going to need time. Water, nurturing, maybe light to be able to grow. And we can't get to the harvest except through time. So there is this need to find maturity, and it's not just being immature. It's about taking the time to let things come into their fullness and to be able to harvest that which you are sowing today. So the energy to me seems very well placed for especially the sun sextile Neptune, but also the fact that the moon is in Gemini, taking on the seeds that were planted with the new moon and being able to start the idea of planting and dispersing them, doing what is necessary to spread that word and spread that energy. Okay, if you guys have questions, I know Ace is probably busy right now moderating all those comments that are coming through. Thank you so much for being out there, because I can't do that and this at the same time. So your questions, you may have to ask another time, maybe even email them to me or text them to me later, because I really want to go into now the energy of something that's rather important for all of us, at least for the next couple of months. This is a time for us all to have that crystal ball, right? To be able to see into our futures, both personally and collectively, right? Seeing into the future. And it's not predictive so much as it is watching the signs, right? Watching what you're seeing building up around you. Watch what you're seeing as far as direction that energy is flowing in. And what I'm talking about here is the move of Jupiter out of Aquarius and into, albeit for a short time, into Pisces. And in fact, Jupiter will be here in Pisces from tomorrow, the 13th of May, until July 28th. So we have a couple of months worth of watchfulness about what things are showing up. First part of this, of course, will be with Jupiter in forward motion. And then on the summer solstice, June 21st, Jupiter turns retrograde. And so the next part of that will be while Jupiter is retrograding back through those first couple of degrees of Pisces, and then eventually back into the sign of Aquarius, where he'll finish up his transit, moving again into Pisces December 29th. So So we have a split cycle with Jupiter this year, which is so interesting because Jupiter is usually a planet about our growth and our expansion and how we're gaining wisdom. So we've gained some wisdom moving through Aquarius, seeing perhaps what's possible for the new, seeing what's innovative and what comes next, if you will, and being able to see what we're going to have to solidify in the now in order to be able to move into a future, right? So we've had a sort of Saturn hard look at what's going on, but not so much looking to the past as in the, doing things the same way that we've always done them, but now looking toward the future. Well, now Jupiter moving into the sign of Pisces gives us that possibility of creation, of imagining what comes next. And so for the next couple of months, we're going to have this change going on where when a planet like Jupiter changes signs, it changes its shift its focus, it shifts focus. And Jupiter is the sign that brings societal changes, not just individual changes. It is a transpersonal planet, much as Saturn is. So they bridge between our inner planets or our personal selves and the outer planets or the collective. So they're in the middle. So we'll see some changes in society. And this is a sign, Pisces, where Jupiter's dignified. This is a sign that Jupiter co-rules. In traditional astrology, Jupiter was ruled by Pisces. There was no connection to Neptune, there was no connection to Sagittarius at that time. But now that we have these two co-rulers, how do they differ? How does Jupiter in Pisces differ from Jupiter in Sagittarius? That's a good question. And I think when you set that up from an elemental viewpoint, you get sort of an idea of what might be different. With Jupiter in Sagittarius, we have the hot energy of Jupiter. Hot energy, meaning energy that's pushing outward, right? Energy that is doing. And the doing of Sagittarius energy is about finding our philosophies and our beliefs. It is about broadening our horizons in a way that takes us into various races, various cultures, various countries, seeing ourselves within the context of where we live and who we are against the bigger backdrop of the world, but also the bigger context that we saw very plainly during this last period of time has been the context of the Earth against the solar system, as we see a lot of different countries sending orbiters into Mars, right? Or landing rovers actually on the face of Mars. So we haven't only been seeing ourselves in the context of who we are on the Earth, but the Earth in a context to the rest of the solar system. So we're getting bigger, right? We can see that we are expanding outward with Jupiter energy. Now, that was Sagittarius, the adventurer part of Jupiter, or Jupiter playing the role of the explorer. Now, with Jupiter moving into Pisces, we're in the darker realm of Pisces in the energy, meaning it's not clear. It's in the depths. It's in the dark, perhaps. In fact, it's cold, right? Pisces is cold energy where Sagittarius was hot energy. These are not value statements, by the way. This is not saying that, Pisces are cold people. That isn't it at all. It's just the nature of the sign itself. And this is the night Jupiter, right? This is the Jupiter that takes us to the feelings and the emotions that are within. It's a private placement almost for Jupiter, as we are all sensing and intuiting, searching for meaning of our feelings and searching for the meaning of life in general, but also searching for our part in it, our roles that we're here to play. And as well, searching for healing once we discover what that meaning is. So we have a Pisces sign that is intuitive, instinctual, imaginative, and creative, but also sometimes a little bit blinded by confusion and has a disability in terms of being able to see things clearly. there's often the resistance to the real with Piscean energy. So while we have Jupiter that's taking us into growth territory, we'll have to actually work harder to determine, is this real? Or is this the ideal? And if it's the ideal, there's nothing wrong with that, but you just have to know that sometimes life gives us a dose of reality during those periods of time, and it can sometimes upset our emotional self. So what we get a sense of for these next couple of months is that there's a heightened sense of emotional energy on the planet. And it's not just about more emotion. It is also about understanding emotion. Remember, we've been talking for a very long time about the solar plexus mutation that is underway. It has not completed yet. That won't happen until 2027. But in the meantime, that center is under change. It's under pressure as it's changing. And the change that's occurring there is about emotional wisdom. It is about emotional intelligence, learning to understand the correct use of our emotional energy, not in reaction that broadcasts hate or broadcasts upset to the world, broadcasts chaos to the world. Instead, taking in that trigger, whatever it is, and being able to understand it, and then choose how you're going to respond to that emotional energy. And instead of broadcasting the energy of hate or upset, maybe broadcasting the energy of love or compassion or empathy for our fellow human beings. So it's a big project that we as humans are undergoing right now. And we'll have various levels of success in that over these next couple of months. I would say that at least in the first up until June 21st, probably an experience of having to learn how to work our emotions as we deal with other people, and noticing maybe that other people are being more emotional back toward us. But then the second half being more about our inner emotional self and understanding who we are in the realm of emotions and how emotion plays out in our personal lives. So Jupiter is at home here in the sign of Pisces, which means that it should be more focused on the more benefic side of its energy expression. And it may be bringing order out of chaos, right? Instead of creation of chaos, being able to make sense out of chaos and to be able to establish a norm in our lives in some way, as it has a stabilizing function here. It may be that it points us to solutions, to strategies, to useful people, to the resources that we need in order to be able to move forward in our lives. There are going to be lots of opportunities for giving, as Jupiter, as a planet of generosity and magnanimity, finds a really good place for that in the sign of Pisces, a giving heart, right? A loving, compassionate sign, a loving, compassionate being. It is also a sign of exploring our emotions and then amplifying emotions, which, good, negative, that's going to be up to how we react or respond to the triggers in our lives. But the focus primarily, at least for these first couple of months, is going to be, actually for the whole time, but I think it's going to be surprising to us that amount of emotional energy for us to use during these next couple of months to find our pathway to well-being. And that means there may be lots of different emotions that we feel. Grief may be coming on in waves as maybe we come face to face with the toll of the last couple of years on our families and on our communities. There may be our dealing with the loss of our dreams. Not our dreams as when we go to sleep at night, but maybe we had the hope and prayer of a dream that we had, and now we might find ourselves losing out on that or having lost faith in that. And this will be a time for us to honor all of our emotions, not to push to the background those that we don't want to feel, not to push them down within us where they can harm us, but to honor all of that and to honor what we've had to let go of in the process of life over these last few years. By the way, the last time that Jupiter was in Pisces was in 2010. So that links pretty closely 2010 to 2022. And this is just this foretaste of 2022 that we're getting right now. What emerges, what inspires, what draws you out and onward, that is what you want to focus on over these next couple of months. What are you seeing that you're really excited about? What makes you get up every morning? What is it that is inspiring you over these next couple of months? My key for you is to have a journal on hand, because it's going to be something I think that you need to really be able to look back over a couple of different times. And of course, what we're learning about, as far as emotions are concerned, is about preventing our projecting of our pain outwards onto the people that we love, or onto the world in general, or into any group in general, right? We wouldn't have issues between people, between nations, if we weren't projecting our internal pain outward. So whether it's a personal interaction with you and a person, whether it is a community versus a community versus a country versus a country, eventually a planet versus a planet, it isn't about the pain between you. It's the pain that's within you that you're projecting outward. So it's a time for all of us to get wise and to become mature about how we use emotional energy. Instead of packaging up your pain and projecting it outward into your relationships or onto other people, work with it within yourself. Where does that pain come from? Where is it stored in your body? How can I love that pain into a peacefulness, right? Loving your pain into peacefulness. So there are going to be 3 parts to the Jupiter experience now for us. The first is May 13th to July 28th, while Jupiter is at 0 to 2 degrees of Pisces. So look to your chart. Where is 0 to 2 degrees Pisces? What house is it in? Because that's really going to give you the clue as to what part of your life where there's this need for you to become more emotionally wise. What planets are there? And what have those planets, driven you to do or be over your life? So we have this opportunity to take that in and to look at that. The next phase of of Jupiter will be December 29th, 2021 to May 10th of 2022, from 0 to 29 degrees of Pisces. Note how quickly that Jupiter moves through the sign of Pisces then. And then the last part will be from October 28th to December 20th of 2022, when Pisces retrogrades backwards from Aries and moves through those 28th and 29th degrees of the sign, which are sort of the karmic level of this energy, where we can look back and we can see how well we've done, how well have we fared with the energy of emotion. Now, something that I don't know much about, but I'm hot on the trail because it's something that came up in my reality, is there is a fixed star called Fomalhaut that is in play right now with Jupiter moving into 0 Pisces. And it's a spiritual initiation sign, or star, if you will. And it's where clashes with the mainstream come up. And it's interesting because we saw it here this morning already with, people interfering with my broadcast who have an agenda of spreading things for us to emotionally react to, right? No matter what, they are, they're characters of disruption, right? They're acting to disrupt, they're clashing. Either we're creating something new in the mainstream, an offshoot of the mainstream, and their beliefs clash with ours, or it's vice versa. But either way you look at it, there's a clash with the mainstream going on as we develop further and further moving forward. And we'll see more and more of these little offshoots. I read an article yesterday, or I heard it on the news. Don't remember where I saw this, maybe a news brief that came across my phone, how others in the Republican Party here in this country, so it doesn't pertain to those of you in other countries, but it may be happening in some way in your own countries. They're thinking of offshooting and going into making a third party. That would be a disruption. And it would also be a clash with the mainstream ideology of, say, the Republican Party. And I'm not saying one way or another, it doesn't really matter. It's the idea that we're seeing these offshoots possibilities of things that are clashing with the mainstream ideology of a group and creating their own pathway around it. So it's an interesting time we live in, as I think we're all looking at, where are we in the mainstream? Do we fit? And if we don't fit, where's my people? Right? Where's my people? What planet am I really from? And who are my real people? Who are the people that hold like values to mine, and who are interested in the positive aspects, that these are my values, and that are wanting to teach people and help people, as opposed to those that want to drag people through the mud or through the dirt. And again, that is not a political statement. That is just, these ideologies that we have out there. So we have this opportunity then to be initiated into a higher spiritual path. What more can we do to create a field of love on the planet instead of this chaotic one that is based in fear, that is based in victimology? So big questions for us as we, take on Piscean energy for the next couple of months, and then a break from that, and then back to it at the end of December. Now, in the expansive Pisces, and we can say expansive because that's what Jupiter does, feels, senses, and intuits. It knows from within, not from asking other people, not from its pain, but it has a sense, a knowing of what is correct. It is able to imagine, to dream, to daydream, to bring things from the imaginal into the real, right? To bring it in, to wonder, to wander, to escape the pain. So these can be positive attributes, but they can also be negative tendencies if we are too often, going the escapist route. There's sweet, meaningful togetherness in this sign. If we can tap into the love energy, if we can tap into the spiritual minded energy here, we can be very much finding meaningful interactions with people. There's nourishment, there's hope, there's optimism, there's the ability to take care of one another, to help those who have been brought to their knees by life, who are experiencing tragedy, or who have experienced tragedy, or experiencing the dark nights of the soul, which is another potential here for this time period, is that dark night of the soul. So that gives you an idea of what to be watching out for, of I think, the house that you find this in your chart is going to give you more information about how it's going to show up in your life. Maybe next time we talk about this, I'll run through all of the houses for you and give you an idea of if Pisces and Jupiter transiting through Pisces is in your fourth house, then there's going to be a family issue, right? Not an issue as in a bad issue, but that you may be dealing with family things, right? Traditions and things that you've done together in your family, father, mother, elder type of issues, the living situation, right? There may be changes in that. So each of the houses is going to have a different focus for us, but keep your pen and paper handy, because right now would be a good time to chart what you're noticing. And again, that begins tomorrow. All right. Let me take a look back over here, see how things are going. Oh my gosh, Asa, you are a doll. Kathleen Mallory, partner sun at 1 degree, 59 minutes. So 2 degrees of Aries, 12th house Eris at, I don't know what that has to do with this, Kathleen. You might have to give me more information there. Now, J-Lo, what was the degree again? 0 degrees of Pisces, 0 to 2 degrees of Pisces. Kathleen, yeah, like yesterday, I don't know, hon. I don't know what you're asking me, so you might have to send me an email. Christine says, thanks, Asa. I came here late. Who knew? Pisces, Sun, and Mercury in the 11th house, 3 degrees. So 3 degrees won't quite get hit. That was the other thing I was going to do really quickly while I have you guys still on air. If I can find my little, there you are. I wanted to look in my Dane Ruggiero book, right? The astrological mandala, to see what 0 Pisces meant. And it would actually be 1 Pisces. So let's look at 1 Pisces, see what the spiritual meaning of that degree is. And this begins a new level called federation. I would have to know what that's about. The first level of that is actional. And it says, in a crowded marketplace, farmers and middlemen display a great variety of products. The keynote is the process of commingling and interchange, which at all levels demonstrates the health of a community. Nice. So this is refers to all that can be gained from social interplay, and especially in the broadest sense of the word, from commerce. So being able to trade with one another, trading ideas, trading ideals, and we'll talk more about that as time goes on, I'm sure. That is it for me today. So Wednesday, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I will see you Friday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. Bye for now.